This episode is brought to you by the Facebook group, the Nonprofit Founders Club. The Nonprofit Founders Club system makes this community unlike any other by guiding its members to get results. Yes, members actually establish nonprofits that cover costs, build infrastructure, and make a difference in people's lives. We do this through free training and lives, the Founders Victory Roadmap, free mentoring and accountability groups, questions, answers, and discussions, challenges, and so much more. Stop being the sole funder and join us in the free group today. The link is in the show notes. Welcome to the Nonprofit Founders Club, where founders who have said, I have my 501c3, now what? Begins building the nonprofit they envisioned and helping the people they are called to serve, all without being the sole funder. An in-depth look at the fundraising basics leg of the Build a Successful Nonprofit framework is what we are talking about today. It helps solve the problem of why nonprofits fail the first year. The fundraising basics leg of the Build a Nonprofit framework gives you the fundamentals of fundraising. You're going to go from funding woes to bringing in consistent funding. If you are feeling clueless on where your funding will come from, this pillar is for you. As you work through the fundraising pillar, you'll become excited about your organization's future and reignite your passion to serve. So let's talk about this fundraising basics pillar. It has 3 smaller areas, and we're going to dive into those right now. So the first area is know your donors. You're going to do this through defining your ideal donor. So what is an ideal donor? Very simply, it is the commonalities between those who are most likely to donate to your cause. So let's back up a second and understand donors. First, your funding is in your donor list. Every fundraising event, every major donor, every grant begins with who you know and who has an affinity for your organization. Fundraising 101 is to start with those closest to you and work your way out. Your family, friends, your board's families and friends are where you start. And it will get you started. The thing is, you will have donors loyal to you and your board member, but not loyal to your cause or your organization. So you will come to the point where you have exhausted your list of family and friends. And that's where the ideal donor comes in. The ideal donor helps you move past your closest supporters and to people who are loyal to your cause and organization. Many young nonprofits get into trouble because when the founder decides to move on, the majority of their funding goes to because they built a donor base loyal to the founder and not loyal to the cause. So one of the things that we believe in Nonprofit Founders Club is purpose. So not only do we have a purpose and a calling in our nonprofits, but we believe everything we do has a purpose. And that purpose moves our organization forward. If it doesn't have a purpose, it's called busy work, and no one has time for that. I teach ideal donors differently than most people because I ask the question, what is the purpose of the ideal donor? So when I dug deep and got serious, I discovered the purpose is that we want to find where the people most likely to give is a common place and what messaging will resonate with them the most. So In the Expand Your Donors by Defining Your Ideal Donor 5-Day Challenge in the Nonprofit Founders Club Facebook group, we go through the process of defining your ideal donor. Now, after we know who the ideal donor is, we can begin making a list of where to find them. And then once we found them, we can use the messaging we created when we defined our ideal donor to get them talking to us and about our organization. All right, the next smaller area is know your strategy. And so there are 3 different things in this that connects to knowing your strategy. The first thing is know your numbers. Your numbers are important when you fundraise. Knowing your cost per unit of service, the metrics of your website and social platform, and data of your donors is incredibly important. These help you raise more money and adjust on the fly. Next, you're going to find your strategy mix. I found over the years that what people call strategy is really an activity. So for me, strategies are higher level and encompass many different activities. Activities are things like events, appeal letters, and sponsorships. Strategies are the different ways to get revenue into your nonprofit. They are things like individual donors, companies, and grants. I've also noticed that higher funding strategies and activities build on lower strategies and activities. Each step or strategy in the hierarchy requires more skills, resources, and infrastructure. Skipping straight to higher strategies like grants makes funding and fundraising more difficult than it has to be and goes against our sustainable fundraising principle of demonstrating rational growth. Taking each step in order helps you build your skills, resources, and infrastructure to handle each new level. This means you can meet the needs of the organization and build your infrastructure in a way that is manageable. And when you think about it, when you start out, you don't need $1 million. You can start small. There is nothing wrong with starting small and building as you go. Your fundraising is the same way. You start small and you build as you go. So we'll be talking in depth about strategies, activities, and the fundraising strategy hierarchy in a later episode. Just understand that knowing your unique strategy mix will help you focus on those fundraising activities that will raise more money for your organization. All right, the last area under Know Your Strategy is to measure your strategy. Collecting the data you need to measure each strategy and activity helps you adjust your strategy mix quickly. All fundraising activities have a life cycle, and knowing when an activity is at the end of its life cycle helps you change direction. This helps you maintain an upwards climb of funding and not a downward climb. All right. Now, the last part of the fundraising framework is to know your plan. So, first thing, you're going to put your plan on paper. This is known as a fundraising plan. And a fundraising plan is a roadmap to get from where you are now to where you want to be this time next year. Fundraising plans get everyone on the same page, helps you plan your work and funding, and helps you raise more money. I have a fundraising template. I'll put it in the show notes or description, depending on where you are finding this episode. All right, next, you need to get buy-in. Your board will need to approve your fundraising plan and commit to helping execute it. Approving the plan is the best way to get buy-in. The last thing is you need to execute your plan. So your fundraising committee is a good place to start with execution if you don't have a development person. I mean, think about it. You put all this work into a plan, but if you don't do anything with it, it doesn't do you any good. So we're all about implementation around here. So that's where you get to implement your ideas. All right, the fundraising pillar of the Build a Nonprofit framework is designed to help you learn the basics of fundraising and help you think like a professional fundraiser, leading to more funding dollars for your nonprofit. If you don't have the Build a Nonprofit framework, there is a freebie, and I will put that in the resources. Okay, have a great week. I'll see you next time. That's it for the Nonprofit Founders Club podcast. Hit subscribe so you won't miss the next episode. In the meantime, keep building your nonprofit so you can help those you are called to serve.